On today's video, we're talking about how to film basic dialogue scenes, and that starts right now. Hey guys, Ryan here, and thank you so much for joining me today. This channel is all about learning and growing as a filmmaker. So please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's become better filmmakers together. Dialogue scenes are a really important part of telling effective stories in our films. And today we're going to take a look at some strategies for filming dialogue scenes in the best and most efficient ways possible. And to help me best demonstrate today's topic, I'll be using the incredible resources from Artlist and Artgrid. Artlist and Artgrid offer some of the best royalty-free music and stock footage available to filmmakers on the web today. Be sure to check them out using the links below in the description, and you'll get 2 free months when you sign up. You know, filming a dialogue scene can be a bit tricky for a few different reasons. And a lot of the choices that you make before you shoot your scene can depend on the type of camera setup that you have. To pull off a quality dialogue scene, you'll need good coverage with a variety of shots, great audio, effective lighting, and of course, proper editing once you have everything shot. First, let's talk about coverage for a dialogue scene. If you have the luxury of a multicam setup, you may be able to save yourself a lot of time and frustration while on set. The reason for that is, if you're shooting with just one camera, you'll have to run through all of the lines for that particular character in shot, break down all of your equipment, set it back up again for the next shot, and repeat the process for the next character. Having a multicam setup allows you to have everything set up one time and run through the scene over and over again without having to spend time breaking down your equipment and moving things around. Shooting with just one camera basically creates a lot of downtime. But I realize that not many people have the luxury of a multicam setup, including me. I have several different cameras, but they're not all the same, and I really don't want to shoot something with different levels of quality for the same scene, if that makes any sense. If you're using a multicam setup with a bunch of different cameras that have a different look to them, I think the audience is going to notice a quality change in the different shots, and it could potentially detract from the overall experience. Once you've determined your camera setup, then you're going to need to figure out the different shots and coverage that you're going to need to film your scene. To effectively cover a dialogue scene, you're going to need a good mix of different shots. The most typical types of shots used in a dialogue scene are a wide, 2-shot establishing shot, an over-the-shoulder shot of each character, close-ups of each character while they're delivering their lines, close-ups of each character just listening and reacting to the other character while they're speaking, and perhaps some cutaway shots of the environment. Remember, when you're setting up your camera to shoot over-the-shoulder shots of your characters, follow the 180-degree rule when you can. If you're not familiar, the 180-degree rule is basically a guideline for the spatial relationship between your characters, or the characters and an object in a scene. You'll need to keep your camera on one side of an imaginary axis that runs in between your two characters. Just imagine a straight line running right in between your characters. This is a line that you shouldn't cross when moving your camera. If you do move your camera and cross that line while you're filming, it's going to switch the character's position on screen and disorient your audience. You don't want to confuse your audience, do you? Or maybe you do. Rules were meant to be broken. And there are a lot of different ways that this rule can be broken if your intent is to create confusion with your audience. If you're going to break any rule when it comes to filmmaking, just make sure that you have a creative reason that works with your story and makes sense. And here are a couple final tips as it pertains to coverage. When you are setting up for a single camera setup when filming a dialogue scene, be sure to run through the entire scene in each angle and shot before breaking down and setting up for the next shot. Be sure to try to capture clean audio and try to avoid having characters talking over top of one another. If you can, try to get each character saying their lines by themselves without the other actor saying their lines. That way you can get clean audio for each character. Unless it's specifically called for in the scene, avoid having the characters talking over top of one another. Okay, let's move on to lighting a dialogue scene. Lighting a dialogue scene can be tricky, especially if you have a multicam setup. When shooting multicam, you'll need to have all of your lights set up so that every shot looks great and cohesive at the same time. You'll need to make sure that both characters are lit evenly for all angles. But if you're shooting things with a single camera setup, you can take time to light each scene individually. You'll be shooting the characters on their own unless you're filming the wide 2-shot that establishes the scene. Also, be sure to try and match the lighting with your establishing shot and the shots of your individual characters. You don't want your establishing shot to be dark, moody, and silhouetted, and then when you go in for the single shot of your character, they're brightly lit and looks like they're standing in a fluorescent room. You want everything to match and be cohesive. If it doesn't match, it's going to be very disjointing to your audience and just look weird. Now let's talk about sound. Once you have your shot list planned and your lights are set up, you're going to need to figure out the best way to capture audio for each shot. Capturing solid audio of two people sitting still and having a conversation shouldn't be too difficult. You could come at this from a variety of different ways, and since the characters are static, you shouldn't run into too many problems. You could use an overhead boom in between the two characters. You could boom under the two characters, as long as the microphone isn't in view and you're getting a solid level from your microphone. You could also use lapel mics to capture audio from both of your characters, as long as you're able to hide the lapel effectively. Or if all you have available to you is an audio recorder, you could set the audio recorder down in between the two characters as long as it's out of sight from the camera. Once you start trying to record audio for characters who are moving around in a scene, that's when things can get a little bit more tricky. But I think that's best left for another video. Whatever you decide to do to capture audio for your characters, make sure that you have someone monitoring the sound level so you're not getting any peaking. Try to make sure the audio for both characters are balanced, and try not to have the characters talking over top of one another. That just makes the audio sound a little messy, and it could be difficult to edit in post. Which brings us to editing your dialogue scene. Okay, you've got your dialogue scene shot, it's well acted, it's well lit, and the audio sounds great. Now you need to know the best way to edit your shots into a scene to help it flow, feel natural, tell an effective story, and of course, be entertaining. I would recommend starting off your scene with a wide 2-shot that's establishing the scene and the characters. This will help bring your environment to life and give your audience a good idea of where your characters are and what they're doing. You could also cut back to the establishing scene later on in some circumstances, usually when something dramatic happens, like a character gets upset and abruptly leaves the scene, for instance. Be sure to alternate close-ups of each character when they're talking, and only use reaction scenes of a character when it makes sense. Reaction scenes are the most effective when the other character is saying something that carries a bit of weight to it. And make sure your reacting character is reacting in a way that feels appropriate as well. If something in the environment of the scene is mentioned, be sure to use a cutaway shot of that object in the environment. For example, if one of your characters is mentioning his mother while he's talking, maybe you could cut away to a framed picture of his mother to help flesh out the world of your characters for your audience. Let's take a look at a dialogue scene that I personally shot to help convey some of these ideas and strategies. We'll break it down as we go, and maybe that will help us retain some of the information that we've covered. Okay, this is a short, simple little exercise that I shot to demonstrate a basic dialogue scene. I shot this with a single camera setup using my Panasonic GH5, the Sigma Art 18-35 lens, and a Metabones speed booster. For the location, I rearranged some furniture in my house to simulate a cafe setting. I wanted to use only natural light to light the scene, so I moved a table in front of our large front room window, and I used the light spilling in from the window, and no other lighting was used. For the audio, I used a Rode NTG2 to boom over top of my talent, and I recorded using my Tascam external recorder. I also recorded scratch audio to my camera with a Rode VideoMic Pro running straight in. I shot this establishing shot first, and placed my boom over the center of the table, as close as I could get it without being in the frame. I ran through the entire scene with this setup, capturing the physical motion of the actress screen left, entering and exiting the scene at the start and finish of each take. I then moved the camera behind the shoulder of the actress screen left to better capture all of the lines from the actress screen right. To better capture her lines of dialogue, I also moved my boom mic over top of her, all of the while making sure not to break the 180-degree rule when placing my camera. While I had my mic placed in that same position, I then captured a close-up of the actress screen right, delivering her lines and reacting to the lines of the other actress, taking care not to have them speak their lines over top of one another. I then repeated that process with the actress screen left, moving my boom mic over top of her and capturing her lines and reactions from behind the shoulder of the actress screen right. To finish things off, I filmed a few cutaway scenes of the environment, I did a little color grading, I downloaded some stock footage of a cafe exterior and a cityscape from ArtGrid to better set the stage. Then I found some sound effects of diner ambience and some intro music from Artlist. Let's check out the entire scene from start to finish and see how things turned out.
I'm glad you came.
Starting to regret it already.
Why do you do this?
Do what?
Make everything so difficult. What have I done to deserve this?
Oh my god. Where should I start?
Would you like me to order you a coffee?
I can't do this right now.
Samantha, you're my daughter.
I can't do this right now. No.
Samantha.
This was a mistake.
And there you have it, guys. Everything you need to shoot a basic dialogue scene in an entertaining and effective way. Once you've mastered the techniques that we've covered in this video, maybe then you can move on to more advanced dialogue scenes like walk and talk scenes. Extremely long dialogue scenes, two characters having a conversation while they move around in a room. The list of ways that you can expand these techniques to make even more creative scenes can just go on and on. The limit is your creativity. There are so many different and creative ways that we can bring our characters to life using dialogue scenes. It's really exciting and fun to learn. At least I think so anyway. Have you ever filmed a dialogue scene yourself? If so, what are some tips that you could share with the rest of us? Or if you have some further questions about something covered in this video, be sure to post that down below as well, and I'm sure the rest of us will try to help you out to the best of our ability. If you'd like to help support this channel, you can visit our digital store, buy some merch, or you can join the channel to gain access to exclusive perks and get your name featured in future videos. I hope you found this video very beneficial, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for coming along on this filmmaking journey with me. I hope you guys are staying safe, happy, and healthy. I am Ryan, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.